Hello, writers. Have you ever bought a writing craft book someone says you just have to read?
Is it still sitting on your shelf? Have you even cracked the spine?
That's totally me.
Don't ask Renee how many craft books she owns.
Why do we keep buying these books we never read?
We all want to improve as writers, but that's hard to do alone.
That's why we started the Words to Write By podcast, to tackle these books together, chapter by chapter, and learn from their advice.
Or not. Sometimes they're wrong.
Hi, I'm Renee Nelson, former college writing instructor turned full-time writer and podcaster. After many years, I finally have a complete draft of my memoir.
And I'm Kim Smigado, author of the humorous fantasy novel Our Comeback Tour is Slaying Monsters, which is the first book in the Boy Bands and Dragons series, released by Riverfolk Publishing.
And now, on with the podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Words to Write By.
Hello. Before we get going, I have a little announcement. I have a new short story out in a short story collection, and it just came out a couple days ago. The anthology is called A Day in the Life, an NPC anthology. So it's a bunch of short stories. I mean, they're kind of long short stories concerning the lives of the non-player characters in video games and in other kinds of like those sorts of role-playing fantasy games. My story is called My Boyfriend's the Hero.
Oh, nice. Where can they find it?
So it's on Amazon. And if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can get it through there, or you can just get an ebook version, or you can order it in a paperback. It's got a really cute cover. They got a pixel artist to do pixel art for the cover, and then for all individual stories, each author got one piece of pixel art to go with their short story.
Oh, fun. That's all. Congratulations, Kim. I'm so proud of you. You're so awesome. You're so awesome.
It's kind of appropriate given that this last final chapter of this book that we are going through has a section on, being playful and such. And so it's a very playful set of stories in that collection.
Oh, yeah, I'd imagine.
Some of them are actually really dark, but they're all playful in that way.
That's good. That's good. What was the name of the anthology again?
It's called A Day in the Life, an NPC anthology.
A Day in the Life, an NPC anthology. I will put that up on the website.
There we go.
So people can find it. I can't wait to read it. Okay, so as Kim said, we are on week 12.
If you aren't aware, we are reading Julia Cameron's The Artist Way, A Spiritual Path to Higher Creativity. And I'm so pleased to say that we are on the last chapter.
We survived, dear listener.
We did, although it took us a little more than 3 months to get through this book.
Are we gonna give ourselves like permission in the future if we get another dud like this one to abandon all hope here, or just we got to trudge through?
If we have as many listeners that are listening to the podcasts, we have to trudge through because people like this.
We have a lot of listeners now, actually. Everybody wants to hear about these chapters from this book. It is a very famous book, which is why we chose it.
Mm-hmm. I think some people must just enjoy listening to us to complain about it too. Like, all those people who have friends that do the morning pages every day religiously, they want to hear the other side.
Yes, perhaps that's why they're listening. I hope so. So for this chapter, it's called Recovering a Sense of Faith. And the moment I read that title, I went, no more God stuff.
It's actually not quite as heavy on the God stuff as all that. I came to a realization, though, as I was looking at this. A lot of books you read are books. They're meant to have information that you build upon. And you're meant to read it linearly through, and one thing builds on the next and builds on the next. It's supposed to be like, that's what a book does. But this isn't so much a book as it's a course, a training guide. Like when we're doing all these weeks, it's part of the reason why she's repeating herself all the time. And like going back is a bit like if you're doing an exercise routine, where like you're meant to go back and work on some earlier stuff and repeat stuff and just,
From a teacher's perspective, this book is not well scaffolded.
Right. But like as a training guide.
I guess I would not attach the word or verb training to this book, nor would I attach the word guide to it. It does not guide you anywhere. It does not train you to do anything.
But I think that's part of the reason why she loops back on things. So
it might be. I think she also was just doing a lot of free writing.
Yeah, this is the end of the book. It's just all the way to the end. We'll also do the epilogue today. And then next week, we will do kind of an overview of what we thought of the book and introduce our new book.
Dun dun! We have picked it, dear listener. However, if you've got a doozy and you want us to do it, and we'll look at it right before we decide, you can email us at words to write by podcast@gmail.com.
Just no more books by Julia Cameron. So, in the little summary of what this one is about, we address the fact that creativity requires receptivity and profound trust. Capacities we have developed through our work in this course. We set our creative aims and take a special look at last minute sabotage. We renew our commitment to the use of the tools.
Can you guess what those tools are, dear listener?
Yee.
That was good. So, if you haven't been paying attention or you're joining us just now and you haven't listened to any of our other episodes, it's morning pages and artist dates. That's all she's got.
So, first section is called Trusting. And it begins with a quote by Mickey Hart, the Grateful Dead drummer. Adventures don't begin until you get into the forest. The first step is an act of faith. And the first sentence of the chapter is creativity requires faith.
Faith in what?
So Cameron's got this spiritual power thing that she does, which can fit with a lot of different faiths that people might have, but it also can fit in this kind of irrational confidence that the world is going to do you a solid and that all you have to do is start being creative and everything else is going to work out. And it's faith that it's just the act of doing that and everything's going to work out. So that's what I take when she says creativity requires faith.
Yeah, I get that too. I also thought faith that it will work itself out and that you have to kind of submit yourself to the not knowing what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that you have to have faith that the book will be done or that the story will work out or anything. Because I don't know about you, but I do have that feeling of like, I don't want to work on things because I'm a control freak and I don't like uncertainty.
Ah, yes.
So that's what I kind of got out of that.
I will say I hated large parts of this chapter, but I did actually find a lot of really good, useful bits of advice in it. So we'll kind of cover that. But like you're talking here about control. And she talks here about how, we throw up roadblocks in our own path in order to maintain an illusion of control. We aren't creative because you want, like you were saying, you want that control, you want that orderliness.
You trick yourself into thinking that you can write the book in your head so that when you sit down to write, the words come. But that does not work at all. It's an illusion. Does that ever happen to you?
Well, like the word's not coming all the freaking time.
Well, no. Do you have this like illusion in your head that you try to prepare yourself by thinking of what you're going to say? And if you just read enough books or if you think hard enough about it, you'll know exactly what to say. And then when you sit down, it comes out.
So basically, you're waiting until you get this blinding light of knowing what to do. And then
Yes.
you're going to do it. But you're not going to thrash around with like half-formed ideas on the assumption that it's just going to all come together on the page. When you're writing it out and it's not working out, you have the confidence to look and say, this is not working today. I am not having a good writing day. If I keep going on this, it's going to be crap. I'm going to go do something else. Is that it?
Were you saying that you don't have the confidence to say this sucks?
Yeah, I mean, part of it's the faith that like I'm writing down stuff and it's not looking good, it's not great. I'm going to step back and I'm going to do some research on some other book. That confidence that what you're writing is great, even when it obviously isn't, is how you can finish a book or finish a draft of a book and go back and fix it.
Interesting. I don't have that. I think all of it's bad. I'm overly critical.
But if you think it's all bad, then you just keep writing, you don't stop.
Usually, or I write and write and write, and I just tell myself I'll fix it later. But sometimes I go back to it and I go, I don't even know if this is fixable. And then I go on a workshop and then nobody can really tell me what to do with it. So then I'm like, okay, well, then I just get really frustrated and I take like a few months off.
I think the key is the frustration. When you're looking at your stuff and you're not seeing how you can actually, sell it or make it better. I think that's what she's talking about here. I mean, she also has this idea that, depression, like anger and anxiety, is resistance. When I think actually depression is brain chemistry. And if you have it, you can't just talk yourself out of it.
Mostly, no, you cannot talk yourself out of it. I'm not sure what kind of trait it is to talk yourself out of things. Is that like everybody does that? Because I am always under the delusion that if I can just think about something in a certain way that I haven't figured out yet, it will fix things. But I'm old enough now to know that that will not work. It's not that my brain doesn't keep trying to do it, but I know that preparing for the zombie apocalypse is not going to save you in the zombie apocalypse.
Right. Cameron definitely feels that if you just say what the problem is, or you just make a list of the things that you want to do, or if you just use enough affirmations, that somehow you can get yourself over that hump. And I don't actually think that's the case. I think there are states you can get yourself into where you can move forward and, you can take baby steps, but just her insistence that you just have to think positively about this. You just have to let your inner artist out. You just have to, don't think that works for people, really. It
Yeah.
sounds good.
I mean, you could trick yourself into thinking it works perhaps for a little while and it might work, but in the long run, I'm not sure.
The other quote on this first page that just makes me grind my teeth. She says, each of us has an inner dream that we can unfold if we just have the courage to admit what it is and the faith to trust our own admission. The admitting is often difficult. A clearing affirmation can often open the channel. One excellent one is, I know the things I know. All I can say is when I run to people that are dead convinced that they know the things they know, they're usually wrong about something and they never admit it.
Cognitive dissonance.
I think that a person that has faith in their own creativity is probably a very annoying person, but if they're a talented artist, it might be the one thing they need to push them into putting out their art.
Yeah, I think a successful artist needs to have a level of hubris, right? All of them had to. If they were famous now, they all had to, in some part, have some faith or belief that they were going to be okay. The art would work itself out.
Yeah. One of the fundamental questions when reading this book is, do you want to have that kind of hubris if it allows you to do your art?
Or do you have to have it?
Yes, that too.
I think on some level, yeah. I think you have to have some faith that things will work out and keep showing up until it does, or until it doesn't. You're a lifelong artist and then you die, and maybe you don't get recognition and you don't quote unquote make it, whatever that's supposed to mean in our society. But most of the time, when people are like, oh, I want to make it as an artist, they mean they want to like make a living and be in galleries. Like they have a goal. The problem is that goal requires other people to participate in your hubris. I don't know.
I don't know. What else did you get out of this section, Renee?
She mentions Joseph Campbell, which I thought was really funny because we did the book The Writer's Journey, which is very much like a textbook, and we did that one. That was our last one, right?
Yes.
Very prescriptive, focused a lot on movies, but it was all based on Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey. So if you're new to joining us and you want to go check that out, you can. She quotes Joseph Campbell, probably from his book Hero of a Thousand Faces, and says, follow your bliss and doors will open where there were no doors before. And she interprets this as saying, it is the inner commitment to be true to ourselves and follow our dreams that triggers the support of the universe.
I always think this is a bit of a catch-22 because that would mean that if the universe does not open up and give you what you want, then it's your fault for not, availing yourself properly.
Right. Which seems to be something she repeats over and over and over and over again. You are the problem.
Or you are the solution. All you need to do is get your mind right and this will all work out for you. And kind of one of her affirmations, right? It's the faith she has.
Right. You follow my program, and if it doesn't work, it's your fault.
Yes.
Very guru.
The line at the end, they talk about, there is a path for each of us. When we are on our right path, we have a sure-footedness. We know the next action, although not necessarily what it is just around the bend. By trusting, we learn to trust. Humans do like to have a little narrative. Artists especially like to have a little narrative about themselves and how important what they're doing is, how it's all going to change, how there's going to be this wonderful thing that happens next. So it is true that if you're an artist, having a narrative about how it's going to work out is pretty crucial.
You have to have some kind of purpose. You have to have an engine to keep you going.
Mm-hmm. This section pretty much sums up something that she's repeated again and again about how if you identify yourself as an artist, good things are going to happen. Everything will happen wonderfully, yada, yada, yada. And she keeps coming back to it like an affirmation, like she has to keep telling you this because otherwise you might say, wait a second, good things aren't happening to me yet.
Right. You just hold out. Keep doing the same thing over and over again. The next section is called Mystery, aka sometimes you have to wait for your ideas. 5 paragraphs later.
The quote I underlined was, It is also true that such bright ideas are preceded by a gestation period that is interior, murky, and completely necessary. Your ideas take a while to bloom. Sometimes even when they just come out of nowhere, you look and you realize they came from other stuff that was going on or things that you're working on. So I am a true believer that if you let your mind think stuff through, sometimes you'll come back to the page and you'll realize what it was that you're making a mistake on.
Sure, yeah. Or just developing an idea.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes time, but that's duh. That's not like profound or anything. If you're a human being, you understand that concept.
Well, if you're reading this book and you're talking about synchronicity and all the great stuff happening and all the brilliance coming in because you decide you're an artist and things aren't happening, this is her saying, sometimes it does take a while. Sometimes the ideas take a bit of time to ferment. Also, it allows her to have a whole bunch of analogies. She's really big on the analogies in this chapter.
Yes, she is in love with the sound of her own hand clapping.
Mhm.
Why don't you read a couple of those?
She has the idea hatching an idea is a lot like baking bread. An idea needs to rise. If you poke at it too much at the beginning, if you keep checking on it, it will never rise. A loaf of bread or a cake baking must stay for a good long time in the darkness and safety of the oven. Open that oven too soon and the bread collapses or the cake gets a hole in the middle because all the steam has rushed out. Renee the baker, this pretty much sums it up rightly.
Maybe, not really. Not the cake one, anyway.
Doesn't quite do it for me.
None of this is quantifiable. None of this is something that you can say, aha, this is true. Because of course it's true. There's no new idea here. It's so vague. And for her to just say it with such confidence as if she knows more than anybody else, being an adult human being knows this. It's almost like saying sometimes you'll get thirsty.
One thing she says that's kind of useful is she says mulling on the page is an artless art form. It's fooling around, it is the doodling. And I do keep a notebook whenever I'm writing and typing on the computer or whatever, where I just like when I'm not quite getting the words to type out or the story to type out, I will jump into the notebook. Maybe I'll say what my problem is. Maybe I'll say, maybe I'll try some things. Maybe I'll write a line in it and see if I can come up with something else. I do find that having paper to write on loosens my mind. So that's a good technique
Yeah, free
if you don't
writing.
do it. Yes. I mean, it can be free writing or it can be, for me, it can be very specific writing to what I'm working on. I mean, it could even technically be the morning pages, but I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah. If you are going to keep a notebook, I encourage you not to try and like not pull it out because if you have an idea for something, it's gone by the time you get off the bus.
Hmm.
Like you think you'll remember it forever, and then by the nighttime, you're about to go to bed, and you're like, what was that idea again?" It'll be gone. Uh,
And sometimes even if you don't look at it again, it's the act of writing it down that kind of burns into your memory a little bit better.
right, and it also kind of tests it, right? Like once it's down on paper, you can go, "Oh, is that a good idea or a bad idea?" Because it could sound really good in your head.
Hmm.
There's one thing in here she said, "To be creative is to be productive, but by cooperating with the creative process, not forcing it." She does not offer any solutions to this, nor does she talk about how one cooperates with the creative process, unless she's just implying that it's her morning pages and artist dates.
Yeah, I do feel like some days I'll say I want to be creative, but what I really mean is I want to be productive.
Mm,
They're not a one for one exchange. Sometimes I'll work out elaborate backstories for my novel, and not a word will get written, but it's a very creative day. I wish creativity directly translated to productivity, but it doesn't always happen that way. At the very end of this, she talks about how, you should just let your subconscious work things out. You should give yourself time to let it ferment and all that. And I didn't put a note that yes, but also sometimes you just got to force yourself to sit down and start writing because it's all good and well to say my brain's working on this, how to work this out, or I come with an idea or whatever. But sometimes you need to put it on paper or put it on the computer and you need to force yourself to do it, even though it doesn't feel very good at the time, because that's part of the process too.
yeah, that reminds me of Ira Glass's talk reposted on YouTube everywhere about that gap, right? There's this gap where it's like your taste is good, but your skill isn't quite there yet. And it takes a while. And it's very frustrating because you can tell things aren't great. So sometimes you got to write your ideas down. They don't always work out, or they're not well defined yet, and you get kind of frustrated. But over time, maybe they'll be okay. Honestly, I think ideas don't mean anything until you've written them down. I will think about an idea forever and never write about it. And to me, it's like, okay, that is just my brain tricking me into thinking that I am being productive by thinking about this thing. But that's not productive. It only exists if you've put it down. Because
Yeah.
if I died tomorrow in a car accident, that idea is gone. Maybe someone else has it, but it's just gone. But if I wrote it down, it could be found later. So that's what makes it real.
Or you can build off of it. Your brain can only hold so much in your head.
Mhm.
So if you've got an idea and you don't write down the idea, you can't build the next stage and this next stage after that. You can't compose an entire opera in your head.
Right. It's like standing on the shoulders of giants, right? If those giants hadn't come up with that thing, we wouldn't be able to stand on their shoulders in the first place. But you have to, write it down to think it through so that you have something to stand on.
Yeah.
The imagination is play, aka don't be so full of yourself.
Don't take yourself so seriously.
Don't be an artiste.
When we think about creativity, it's all too easy to think about art with a capital A. That is true. I think some of the earlier writing projects I did, I was so serious about that at a certain point, I couldn't convince myself to keep going because I didn't really feel like I was capable of doing something that artistic. And it wasn't until I actually said, I'm just going to write a really silly story about a boy band that I finished.
Hmm.
And I think there's a lot to that. If you feel like your project is so important and so fantastic and so remarkable, and that's your first project, you probably won't finish it because you won't live up to what you're looking for.
I think that is a common issue because I've had that issue where it's like I need to wait until I'm good enough to execute that idea. And I think that is a mistake. I think you just got to do it. Or, like, I actually liked your solution. Find something you know is going to be delightful and delightfully fun.
That's true because the other version of this is someone says, well, I have this brilliant novel idea, but I'm not good at it. I'm not ready for it. So I'm going to write this other thing I don't care as much about, but it will give me this practice. But if you don't care enough about it, then you're not going to finish that one either. So if you want to step back from something really big and do something manageable, you better have fun doing it.
In that sense, then it's easy to come to the page. If it's something that you're afraid of, like it's difficult and you're afraid of your own project, you're going to avoid it no matter what.
I'm assuming that certain people that pick up this book are people that don't play. They're just serious people. They have a serious job, they have serious obligations. Their hobbies are, well, I need to do some house improvement or I need to, do something that's grown up. That's the reason why she harps so much on this idea of play and, having a fun space and like wearing purple clothes and all that, because there's a certain number of readers in the book that would never, ever consider that. And then there's
Uh,
all the rest of us saying, like, we're doing that already.
I don't think so. I think if someone's serious, they would never buy this book. The serious person is not going to buy this book. They're not going to go into the metaphysical bookshop and go find it and buy it because they are a serious person. That's my theory.
So
If
then we've got a whole bunch of readers that really aren't serious people, but maybe pretend to be. But then they say, I'm so much better than that serious person because I understand how to play.
maybe, or I just think they are creative and they just have been off the wagon for such a long time and they've talked themselves out of doing anything about it. I
Right.
think
But like,
that's what who the reader is, the
hmm
intended reader. But I don't think they're
so,
serious people.
so they know how to play. They just haven't let themselves play for so long that they need this book to tell them, yes, you can do that.
Yes, that's what I think. But I'm also biased because I'm thinking of my mother. That is why my mom read it.
Mm.
She was a creative person. I mean, oh my God, she was super creative. She loved the metaphysical bookshop. She's probably where she found this book, but she couldn't get herself to work. She couldn't get herself to paint anymore. She wanted to. She thought about it all the time. She bought all the planners. She would fill out the planners and love filling them out and then never, ever do anything.
And then did this book help her?
She claims it did, but clearly it did not because she did not continue with morning pages. But for a while, it gave her a dopamine hit of being productive. I'm doing morning pages and I'm doing artist dates, which I think is great. I mean, my mom, if she needed permission to do an artist date, but she was always going to art galleries. I don't know. I feel like there might be a supposed intended audience. Like there's two audiences. There's the one they say it is, but then there's the real one.
So the other part of play, she talks about her hobbies. And she apparently claims that, that one of the hobbies is sewing something or gardening is the other hobby that she mentioned. I was wondering, does it have to be, quote, a hobby The idea is that you're stuck on your creative project and you go and do your hobby for a while and then it unlocks and you come back. And I'm saying, does it have to be like quote a hobby or could it be, like a bit of housework or like jogging or some other any activity that gets you away from your main creativity project? Does it have to quote be a hobby, do you think?
Well, there's a break. You could just float in the pool. To me, that's a break. But a hobby is something where you're also learning another skill and leveling up slowly or whatever, and you're just enjoying it to enjoy it. Most people call something a hobby if they don't want to do it professionally, but they're still leveling up.
Right. So do you think it's critical that it not just be a float in the pool, but actually that you be going and doing something else creative around the house?
I do, but that's how I work. I spent 2 hours last night doing my paint by number thing my friend made me. She took a picture of my two cats
Uh-huh.
and submitted it to a website, and they created this big paint by number canvas. And I've been like obsessed with it. And it means nothing, but I've gotten better at it as, I've been filling it in. My painting skills have been slowly getting better. I
Your
do
counting skills as well?
well, not so much. I mean, the numbers are written on there, but I do cross stitch.
Hmm.
I've been doing that for a few years now, and I've definitely gotten better, and I enjoy doing it. And it's a hobby I like doing. We talked about this before on another episode a long time ago, where we talked about this thing called beginner's mind. And I really like that because what a hobby will do for you is it will give you access to feeling that beginner's mind where everything new is delightful. But if you're so used to writing all the time or doing art, the delight is gone and it's really hard to come back to it. But if you are practicing it and feeling it, then it could carry over. So, like doing your hobby is delightful. And since you felt delightful, then you can now give yourself permission to go and do your work, your artwork.
So, like for your cross stitching, was there a point where basically you'd be working on, your writing project and you get frustrated and then you just do cross stitch for 20 minutes and then you come back to the writing?
Sometimes,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
I've actually been doing that with my script. I've been doing the paint by number, and then I'll go and I'll write some more of my script, and then I'll
Uh-huh.
go back and do some more of the paint by number. Like it's nice. And I like mindless hobbies, like where I don't really have to think very hard. I wanted to do this new thing called Drawbox. It's online, it's free. It's like a art learning perspective, but like through doing the same damn thing over and over and over again, like drawing 200 boxes. To me, that feels very attractive. I love that idea of just drawing box after box after box for no purpose. And I feel like I could do that and then write my script and then do that and then write my script. Don't you have that? You have a shop.
I mean, yeah, I'm working on my jewelry stuff. I mean, what you're saying is actually very much what she's saying here, that it not just be floating in a pool. It's not just, oh, I guess I'll do some housework and come back. It seems like it needs to be something that is creative and playful and puts you in the right mindset.
Yeah, it works for me. I don't know if it works for everybody, but I do enjoy it. But I think it's because I'm a creative person. I like being creative and I like fun, simple crafts, especially if they're a little naughty. But the very first cross stitch I did was a little house, and it said, "This isn't a whore house, it's a whore home." So there you go. You have hobbies too, right? You do your necklaces.
Yeah, I haven't done as much of that. I think some of yours are kind of good because like you can pick up the paint by numbers at any point and put it down. You don't get sidetracked as much because you probably paint a certain amount and then you're done. You're ready to go back to the page.
Yeah, I don't really have any specific goals.
Hmm.
I just do it until I'm done and I don't even question it. And it's fun. And I really like that. It's very calming. It's kind of meditative. Sometimes I'll even listen to, right now I'm listening to a book called Self-Compassion, and it's a lot of meditation stuff. And I really love it. I'll just listen to that and have self-compassion while I paint by number my cat Smeagol and Arwen. Would you try that? If you don't do it now, would you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I couldn't do paint by numbers. I think I have just call them standards implies something that I'm being snobbish to you, and I don't mean that way. But like you said, part of it's a certain level of fun. And I don't know if I'd have that level of fun by paint by numbers, but I bet I could find something else that would be that kind of enjoyable. And maybe something mindless because the jewelry stuff is a bit more cerebral. There's a bit more to it. I think her point here is that it's not like you are a quilter and you go to the store and buy a bunch of quilting fabrics and you arrange your pattern. and then go back to your writing because that's a bit more, I mean, there's a lot more going on there. But what you have is you've got a setup where you are writing, you take a break and you just jump right over to it and you start painting the number one. It's immediate, right? And you can put it down at any point without any lingering things. You don't go back to the page and think, oh, there was that number 18 I need to paint.
No, none of that. It's a very low stakes thing. Now, one thing I've noticed is when I do it, you do get better just by doing it. But I don't have a huge goal of, I'm going to be great at cross stitching. I'm going to be the cross stitching master. No, I want to make that thing. And I have projects where I wanted to do them and there was so much one color in it that I couldn't look at it anymore. And when I'm done with it, I gave it away. It's like I just do it and I have naturally gotten better, like baking. I have gotten better, but I don't seek out to level up.
Yeah. Your creative self is not invested in your ability to paint by numbers.
Right. Now, I wonder what the science is behind that. We did talk about the beginner's mind thing, and I get some of that, but there's got to be more because I was listening to a book not too long ago about creativity, and a lot of famous artists or writers, they had these hobbies, which is why maybe I picked them up, where they would have two projects going on at a time. Like Henry Miller, he wasn't just a writer, he did some art on the side, but it was clearly on the side. It's not like it was fantastic, but his art is fun. And I think a lot of artists probably have a side thing where they just do something for fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
not as serious. That would have been a good activity in her book.
She's not explicit in this because she's talking about hobbies that don't pull you away from your main creative project. You don't want something that keeps tumbling into new and new things. You've got 100 things open, nothing's finished. But that kind of repetitive, easy to jump to project that probably also keeps you from doom scrolling or anything else as well. You have something to do with your hands, so you can't be like going through your phone either.
And that's part of why I picked up cross stitching, is I was like, I want to stop scrolling. So my hands are busy. So are you going to find a hobby now? Can I get you a paint by number? Would you do it if it is a paint by number?
Not a paint by number, but maybe I should think about it. It's not the worst idea.
Cross stitching?
No, not that either.
Anyway, I'll find something fun for you and you can pretend to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll be like, I lost it. You're regifted to the Goodwill. No worries.
Origami. Maybe origami would be a good one.
Ooh, origami. All right. All right. I'll keep an eye out.
Okay. Before we leave this section, I have some quotes I want to read. We are intended to create. We refurbish a downy kitchen, tie bows on a holiday cat, experiment with a better soup.
With a better soup.
I like the tying the bows on the holiday cat.
Yeah, my cats would not be happy. How about yours? Do they let you tie bows on their heads?
No. Maybe in the holidays.
Yeah, I mean, she says it's a paradox of creative recovery that we must get serious about taking ourselves lightly. We must work at learning to play. Creativity must be freed from the narrow parameters of capital A art and recognized as having a much broader play. So, cross stitching.
I also liked the clock is ticking and you're hearing the beat. You stop by a museum store, sign your name up on a scuba diving sheet, and commit yourself to Saturday mornings in the deep end. And I'm thinking, what kind of museum store has a sign up for a scuba dive?
I don't know. That is one of the few hobbies I would never, ever, ever, ever do is scuba diving.
I did scuba diving.
It is terrifying. The idea of it is terrifying. It doesn't scare you? Running out of air?
No,
Sharks?
no.
Okay. I would
No.
snorkel, but I would not do, no.
I mean, I wouldn't do cave scuba diving or ice scuba diving. I'd do something where if I had to, I could go back up to the surface.
Right. She also mentions, so this is another side of this seriousness, which is the artiste, like probably loving your work too much, right? I have met many of these people in grad school and college. There's a lot of them, academia people who take themselves too seriously and they will make you spend a half hour talking about a comma in a poem. And life is too short to spend that much time talking about a comma because I genuinely think that that's a waste of everyone's time
And your money.
and my money. And I will say that there was a whole poetry movement that did that. They were called the language poets. And they were a response to confession poetry in the 80s. They were academics who made poems intentionally difficult and cryptic with the intention of you having to decode them. And there is nothing more egotistical that I can think of than to write language poetry.
So, if you really want to show everyone else how smart you are, you should go into the sciences or business or something else where showing everyone how smart you are makes money or makes you famous. If you're going to be an artist, don't do it to show everyone how smart you are or how brilliant you are because that's so annoying. It's much
Yeah.
more fun when artists just have fun and play around. Like that's part of the charm of being an artist. And if you get a whole bunch of people that are like, we're going to take art, we're going to make it really superior because we're so much better than one. That's no fun at all.
Right.
All the best artists rebel against that stuff. The ones that like, the people that decide to start a movement to show how smart they are, I bet they had a whole bunch of poets that rebelled against that one, had much more fun.
Oh yeah, I'll bet. I'd rather be that poet. Let's just say, don't be a hipster. No fun, and nobody likes that. Shout out to my ex-husband. All right. Are we ready to move on?
Yeah, this is the next one is quite the chapter.
Escape velocity.
Tell me what this section was about, Renee.
I was about to ask you the same thing. I think, you know how when you pick up your phone to check if there's messages and there isn't, and you put the phone down and it vibrates because now there's a message.
Mm.
It's like you're about to make a big move, like, fuck this job, I'm going to go be an artist. But then, right when that happens, when you're about to make that choice, they're going to finally give you a raise. Like you're on the precipice of making this penultimate choice for your life and you're going to commit. The universe responds, trying to get you to stay exactly where you are.
So this is the evil side of synchronicity.
Yeah. Oh, good. Damn. Yes, it is. That was
And
well said.
if you're on your artist way and you get some synchronicity and then it turns out to be the worst advice ever, the worst career move ever, the worst thing you possibly could have done, it obviously wasn't synchronicity. It was the test instead, which pretends to be synchronicity. And you only figure out you were wrong afterwards. And that way you can't blame Juliet for making the mistake because she included this chapter to warn you about it.
Yeah. Escape velocity versus dark synchronicity.
Yes.
was, that's kind of cool. Anyway, so what she says is that my friend Michelle has a theory born of long and entangled romantic experience. In a nutshell, it goes, when you're going to leave them, they know. Like your cats when you're about to go on a vacation. I added that last bit. The same theory applies to creative recovery. It occurs when you reach what Michelle calls escape velocity. As she puts it, there's this time for blast off, like a NASA space launch, and you're heading for it when wham, you draw to the test. It's like when you're all set to marry the nice guy, the one who treats you right, and Mr. Poison gets wind of it and phones you up.
Right. Sexy Mr. Poison.
Oh, yeah, very sexy, Mr. Poison.
She also mentions that Michelle's a bit of a conspiracy nut. And
No, no, she wouldn't know a conspiracy nut, would she? Julia Cameron? Sorry.
again, I find this to be one of those bits of advice that only works afterwards because, like, it's only afterwards that you see what happened. You can't prevent the test from happening. What it's saying here is that you're going to go on this path, you're going to almost go on this path. There's going to be this amazing opportunity. There's going to be this thing that tries to make you stop. And you won't recognize that it made you stop until a year later when you realize, wait a second, I was going to do this thing. And I'm still at this crappy job.
It can work both ways.
But it could also work both ways. Like it could also be that thing that draws you in and it's fantastic.
Or no, it could be that thing that you recognize what it is and you pass the test and you look back going, good thing I didn't blank, blank, blank.
But it's so tempting. Mr. Poison is so sexy.
I know. And if you pass the test and a year later you can look back,
What if a year later you're super bored with being married to Mr. Nice?
then you didn't pass the test. You made the wrong choice, dear listener.
That's it. I'm saying this, it makes perfect sense. You're going to be on your creative path and you're going to come to a choice. And there's going to be one thing that looks really, really good. And it might be the thing that's fantastic that you're glad you did, but it might be the thing that's awful and you wish that you didn't do it. Or you might stay on the other path and it's like after the fact. This
Right.
does you no good in the moment. The one bit of advice I did like was she had the whole concept of the wet blanket friends. That when you're ready to do something really creative or interesting, are going to be skeptical and rational and talk you out of it. And this, I think you could act on it because she asks you to actually like, kind of make a list of what friends are supportive in a good way and what friends are not supportive, either because they're actively trying to keep you down or because they just can't help themselves. They're going to be a wet blanket. And it's not the worst idea to look at your friends and say, if I have a crazy idea and I come to Renee, she's going to be enthusiastic and I'm going to keep moving on it. So she's in my good list. And I'll tell her all the stuff that's going on. But maybe this other relative or this other individual always like makes it worse. So I'm just going to put them on a list where I don't tell them about this creative project I'm doing.
Yeah, there's some people you can trust with your ideas or your creativity. There's some people you can trust for a good recipe, but you can't trust them for everything. There's certain people you don't want to trust with your ideas because they're just going to poo-poo on them.
Yeah. And they could be people you love, they could be your family members.
Yeah.
They could be incredibly supportive, wonderful people. But the thing is that when you're planning on quitting your job and doing this weird, crazy artist thing, don't tell them.
Oh
Don't
God.
run, don't run it by them. Don't float this idea. Just keep it separate until after you do it.
I can't get it out of my head because my mom wouldn't stop complaining about it because my mom wanted to stop being a psychiatric technician. She hated her job. She worked with mentally dangerous, mentally ill people, like people pretty much in the prison system. And she wanted out of her job and she was just talking to her dad. He was like, "Don't quit your job. I forbid you to quit your job because it's good pay and you can't start over." Oh my God. It was almost like she loved hearing that because she loved repeating the
Did she
thing her
quit her?
dad said.
Did she quit her job?
She tried her whole life to essentially quit her job. So she never quite did it, but she kept trying to get out of it. But, it was good pay.
But that's the case. I mean, this person got into her mind. And the thing about it, it isn't necessarily even that, these people have this power over us. They just give us that bit of doubt. And once that doubt is
Mm.
there, if she had had an authority person or somebody above her that she had said, I'm going to quit my job, and they said, yeah, let's go and look at other things you could do. Like maybe that would have been the path that would have veered her off. But she told the wrong person.
Told the wrong
And
person.
it got stuck in her. And that's kind of a scary thought that not only could you make the mistake of telling the wrong person, but they could tell you something that would completely screw you over for the rest of your creative life.
Oh, well, that's a bit much. I
But
mean, at some point, you have to take some responsibility for being like, I told the wrong person, but I'm going to keep going anyway. Like, you can't blame someone else for your shitty life. I mean, you could, but
you obviously can.
I mean, yeah. What I really liked what you said, though, about the doubt. That makes so much sense. Like I never thought about, but that's true. They're sowing doubt. And once there's doubt, it just kind of like hangs out in your brain and pokes you all the
Mhm,
time. And when you
mhm,
try to act on your idea, you keep thinking of the doubt. It's like a little bit of poison,
mhm,
you know?
mhm.
Yeah, I totally get that.
One bit I'd say that from this chapter is it's not the worst idea. Is at some point when you're not on a project or anything else, you just write a list of the people in your life and make a little asterisk by anyone who would be skeptical or doubtful or would be try to be rational with you if you had a crazy idea. And just make the note that when you have your crazy idea, you're not going to tell them about it. Because she does have this whole thing about how you're supposed to like keep it all inside you and don't tell anyone and keep your dreams secret. But I don't think that works either because if you just keep them inside, then you don't act on them. What's really good is to have a set of friends that you tell the crazy ideas and they're like, oh, that's the best idea. I can't wait to see it.
But be careful about how much you say because they've done studies and found that if you give away like our whole plot and everything, you get the dopamine hit of actually doing the work, but
Hmm.
you haven't done the work.
But if you tell the right friend, then maybe next time you see him, so how's it going? I want to read the story.
That's true. That's true. They give you a boost. You give me a boost.
And speaking of which, Renee, you know a great place to say a crazy creative idea you have and get support from people around you?
You?
Our process group.
Oh, well, yeah, you. Yeah, we have our process group.
Every Wednesday at 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we meet on Zoom with Renee and me and several other creative types. We've got professional writers, amateur writers, all sorts of stuff. And we just talk about our writing problems and our writing solutions and, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's fun. We're supportive.
It's one of the things where it's not just us talking, other people come and bring ideas, and it's just a delightful conversation.
And it's free. So you can find us on Meetup. You go to Words to Write by Process group and it'll take you to the Zoom link, or you can find that link on our website, words to write by podcast.com. Usually I write very extensive show notes, but not for this book. But if you are a reader and you like to go a little bit further in these discussions for previous books we've done, you go to our website and you'll find all sorts of notes and links and all sorts of stuff to learn more about the things that we've been learning from all of these craft books on our website.
Do you have anything else to say about the escape velocity section?
I would like to escape velocity from this book.
Then you're going to land on the tasks section. One of the tasks is mend any mending, followed by repot any pinched and languishing plants.
Okay. Thanks, Julia Cameron. It's very helpful.
She does have number 9, list the 5 people you can talk about your dreams with and who you feel will support your plan.
I think that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I think it's funny. She has a God jar. Number 6.
Yeah, that.
I'm like, isn't that Pandora's box? You put all your fears and hangups and all the horrible things in the world, and you put it in the jar, and the jar is supposed to just keep it hidden. Yeah, I don't know. But that made me think of Pandora's box, which was a jar, actually.
Number 10 task starts with reread this book. And I wrote, no.
I wrote, seriously?
Friend, remember that the miracle is one artist sharing with another. Trust God, trust yourself, and then good luck and God bless you.
And don't reread this book.
You didn't have to read it the first time because you got the podcast to listen to.
That's true. Yeah. You're welcome, dear listener. We fell on the sword for this one. Oh my God. I thought the writer's journey was kind of a slog, but this takes the cake. I do have a story. I used to volunteer and write for a women's club. And this one woman who tried to take over the entire club, but, ended up getting ousted. But apparently she had written a memoir. And I was at a function sipping tea and like, there she is. So I'm trying to be nice to her. And we're just chatting. And somebody comes up saying, oh, I read your book. Thought it was really interesting. I didn't quite understand blank. And deadpan, I am not kidding. This woman looked at her and said, oh, you've got to read it more than once.
If someone reads your book once, just thank them.
The audacity of telling someone that they have to read your book more than once was just, I did not laugh out loud. I almost did.
Then the next page, we're technically done, but like there's still a little.
Well, there's the check-in. Should we do a final check-in, Kim?
Oh, yes.
How many days this week did you do your morning pages?
0.
0. Did you do your artist date this week?
I did not do an artist date because I didn't do anything by myself. I did a bunch of fun stuff. I biked down the Monterey bike trail.
I think it's okay if you go with someone else.
Mm-hmm. Today I went to a used bookstore and I randomly picked up a interesting looking book. So that was fun.
I think she would consider that an artist date.
How about you? Do you do an artist date?
I did a double feature of Back Rooms and then He-Man. It was like Barbie Hammer, but different.
I mean, anytime you like watch a He-Man or Masters of the Universe related thing, you have to think, wouldn't it have been better if they just did the She-Ra instead?
They're going to.
Really?
Yeah, there was a clip after the credits.
Is it the She-Ra we love, or is it kind of like a male testosterone version?
She looked fine.
Okay. I mean, it would be really fun if they did the animated version.
The animated version is glorious. I freaking love it. I don't think that that's what they're going to do because she is He-Man's sister.
They could have worked that in with the cartoon series too, because they don't know where she came from.
Yeah, I don't think it is. And, I got to say, the He-Man movie was actually pretty awesome. There were so many dick jokes. So many. It was worth it.
Okay. Did you experience any synchronicity this week?
Yeah. I did my paint by number.
Synchronicity is when like an opportunity comes out of nowhere. Like,
oh,
planets align and like things happen.
Not really, but I did get work done. So to me, that's a win. How about you?
Well, I did have a person I contacted to ask for doing a critique for me because she's done lit RPG writing and stuff like that. And she hadn't gotten back to me for a while. And then yesterday she just emailed me so that she's ready for my chapter. So that would be a bit of synchronicity. And I'm going to definitely act on it right now so that we don't miss touch with each other for a while. Because that happens. You get an email, you let it sit for a couple of days and you email them back and then they let it sit for a week and a half and so.
Were there any other issues this week that you consider significant for your recovery? Describe them.
Nope.
I did have a little one. One of my hangups, of which there are many, if you've been listening to this podcast, you know quite a few now. Sometimes I won't write, and one of my excuses is it's a waste of time. Or I won't do things that I know are good for me because, quote unquote, I feel like it's a waste of time. Like, I probably shouldn't sit and write because I'm not really going to take it seriously. Oh, I'm not really in the right frame of mind. So if I sat there and did it, it would probably be a waste of time. And I talked myself out of that this week in the sense where I was like, what else are you gonna do? Seriously, Renee, you think your life is that exciting? Because you talk yourself out of it and then you watch time travel porn, Outlander, and then you do cross stitching. And at some point, it's like, no, there's no time wasted. This is your life. This is what you've got.
Hmm.
Either you do it or you don't. Thinking of it like wasted time is stupid. It kind of hit home for some reason. I don't know. It was not this book, but other things going on, perhaps.
What kind of success? All right. There is a creativity contract. I am not going to sign this one.
Nope. It pretty much tells you to keep doing what Julie Cameron tells you to do, which are morning pages, artist dates, and perhaps rereading this book, which we are definitely not going to do. Then there's an epilogue. We're not done yet.
Oh, yeah. I have thoughts on this epilogue.
Go for it.
Well, she said, in ending this book, I yearn for a final flourish, some last flip-ip of imagination that would sign this book. But then she says she's not going to do it because she's often distracted on a painting by an oversized signature, so she's not going to do it. But you know what this ends on? It ends on a really bad poem. Words for it. At the end of the poem, the name of the poet is J.C. I think that was a final flourish there.
Bad one at that. She has more than one of her poems in here. There's also one under the appendix.
I thought that was
A bit presumptuous.
and
Yes.
just the fact that you put your initials as opposed to your actual name.
Yeah. It was a bit cringe.
It was a lot cringe.
Yeah, we're not going to read it, dear listener. Don't worry. You don't have to turn down your podcast. Let's see, what else? The Artist's Way FAQ, frequently asked questions, of which no one has probably ever asked her. Question one.
Is true creativity the possession of a relatively small percentage of the population? No, absolutely not. Like every single one of these Q&As are basically ways of pitching why you should read this book. None of them are actual like questions someone might have from reading this book. These are all questions like, can I expect dramatic results to begin occurring right away? The answer is both yes and no. Da 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 da. Like,
Like it's slap chop.
yeah. If the basic tools of morning pages and the artist state are kept carefully in place, you can expect to experience larger than life shifts. Every single one of these is a selling point for why you should do this book.
It's weird that it's in the back. I feel like these FAQs should have been in the beginning.
Maybe, but also there is at least a good 50 pages after technically the end of filler. I think what happens is when they reissue a new version, they want to make it bigger or they want to make it some reason why you would get this one. And so they basically look around for some filler material and they slap it at the end. So this probably showed up on some web page or something else and like, oh, we'll put it in there.
I do think it is funny, like you mentioned, how she continuously sells her book over and over again in these questions. How does this book free people to be more creative? I would never assume that anything I wrote would free people to be creative. Like, what? She goes, one of the central themes of The Artist's Way is the link between creativity and spirituality. How are they connected? Like, she just keeps selling her book. The Artist's Way is a 12-week program that requires daily commitments. How much time do I need to devote? Like, ask no one ever. Anyway,
We asked that one at the beginning.
we
How am
did.
I going to do this thing?
That's true. We did have that question, but we don't anymore because now we're at the end of the book.
Yes, because we'll skip over. There's the creative cluster guide. Like if you want to do it as a group.
So she renames workshops clusters.
Mhm. And then there's the appendix one, the trail mix about forming a sacred
I don't know
circle.
what that trail mix thing is.
And then we got your artist
Oh,
prayer.
she claims that this book has been taught at community colleges and universities. And I wrote, I hope not.
Then we've got the appendix two, the trail markers, another
Sacred,
special 10th anniversary
the
edition.
Sacred Circle, which is really just a workshop.
And we got the introduction to the 25th anniversary edition, Artist Way. Oh, well, this is actually kind of good. I'm seated alone at a cafe, dining solo. A woman approaches my table. Pardon me, she says, has anyone ever told you you resemble Julia Cameron? Well, I replied, I am Julia Cameron. Now it is the woman's turn to look surprised. Oh my God, she exclaims, your book changed my life. It made me a novelist. That's wonderful, I tell her, genuinely pleased. I bet you hear stories like mine all the time, the woman says. In fact, I do, but that doesn't take away from the thrill.
Oh my God. Oh, and with that, totally, completely true story
Because it happens all the time, and it's
all the
always
time.
true.
Because I know what she looks like. I would recognize Julia Cameron a
And
mile
you're going the
away.
other way.
Oh, yeah. Are we done, Kim? Can we be done?
Yeah, there's a reading list.
No! Okay, are
And
there
the
any good books on the reading list?
index, and then we're done.
Did we?
So, what we usually do at the end of a book, we'll gather our thoughts about the artist way, like dig into it, not for too long, but just
Sing our praises?
to give a send off, something that to look forward to.
Yes, we will announce the new book. We will cover the author, discuss why we picked it, but we'll also read like the jacket copy in the back. And I really think y'all are gonna love this next book. It is everything I think Julia Cameron's Artist Way is not. It is prescriptive. It narrows down to a very specific craft element. It is one everybody needs
Yeah.
to nail.
In other words, it will be useful to you as a writer. So perhaps it will not be as entertaining and as rambling and as like, shoot the shit as our current podcast is, but we think you'll get something out of it, which is even better, really.
Right. Well, that was the purpose of this podcast, was not just bitch about the books, although it can add comedic relief. It was going a bit too far with this Julie Cameron book. But if the book sucks, this next book, you bet we're going to entertain you. But I highly doubt it sucks.
Not to this degree.
No, no, that this is a book by a real writer who has written like 8 novels, and she teaches creative writing. I can't believe it's bad. There has to be some hope in the universe.
Renee's an optimist. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. We hope you enjoy The Artist Way as much as we.
Well, I hope you enjoyed us talking about it more than the actual book. Oh God, I'm so glad to let this book go. I've got to celebrate.
Such a sense of accomplishment.
Kim, we did it.
Before we started this podcast, we didn't finish any of our writing craft books.
No,
Now we finished like the really hard ones.
I know. This was the hardest out of all of them. All right, y'all. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Words to Write By is produced by Renee Nelson and Kim Smuda-Addo. Our theme music is Roll Back the Carpet by Cool Cat Music. Have a great day.
Did you marry Mr. Poison? Is this what we're talking about? No, Magic's a very nice guy. Did you have a Mr. Poison?